All righty. Welcome everybody to number one of many. This is kind of just our garage podcast here for now. But we're just gonna go through who my mom is. She gets extremely nervous on camera and when she's recording things. So it's just gonna be a conversation between mom and son. So it's gonna be a little mom and son interview, I get, or kind of just she likes to talk, so this is good. I'm not a big talker, but it's great because she's gonna be able to talk all day to me, and that's what she loves to do, and she can if she wants at the same time. So, say hi, mom.
Hello,
What's your name?
Sarah Carvajal.
Sarah Carvajal. Sarah Carvajal. What is your profession? Like
I
Spartan.
am a mom.
You have to say it like the Spartans.
I'm a mother.
Good.
Um,
Lame. Okay. Mom, why are you starting all of this stuff? Why are you doing all of this? What is this? What is this podcast? What is this even?
Well, there's a couple of things, I guess. If you're asking a specific question about the pajamas, why am I starting the pajamas? The pajamas because I cannot find anything like them. We have struggled with being able to put Millie in bed and have her be able to be fed, and
Wait.
without
Who's Millie? We're talking to
Millie's my baby.
first people. They don't know who you are or anything. So
Okay,
so
we
first
gotta
off,
start with who I
who are
am
you?
then.
Yeah, who are you? You say I'm
I
here. Go
I'm
ahead.
a mom and I have seven children.
Seven
So
children.
seven children, and this coming Sunday I'll have been married 24 years. So I got married, and within a year and a half we had our first son. That's you. And
Yeah.
then
First
we
and best.
had we had they're all the best, every single one of them. We had kids from the time we had you. In 7 years we had six kids. And so we have you, and then your brother Liam was born 18 months later, and your sister Emmeline was born 20, let's see, 23 months after Liam. And then your little brother Chaucer, who's the fourth child, was born, let's see, 22 months after Emmeline. And then we have the twins who were born almost exactly 2 years after Emmeline. So they were born 2 years and 20 days after Emmeline was born. And so we had a big, huge, fun family, little kids running around everywhere. I love
What
being
she's
a
saying
mom.
is single-handedly you're holding the white race now.
You should cut that out.
Every other year is what she's saying. That's what in English what she's saying is if you're not paying attention or you couldn't follow all the months and years, it's she has a lot of kids every other year pretty much for a long while. And then
Yeah.
and then what?
And then I love being a mother. We had adventures, and my favorite thing in the world is being a mother. And then you all went to school, and there was nobody to be my adventure companion. And I found myself in a world of manicures and pedicures and spas, and my life felt during the day I
So
felt meaning.
rough.
What?
Sounds so tough, huh?
It wasn't tough, but it wasn't real life. It felt fake. It felt like I don't do that kind of thing. It's not, I really strive for meaning in my life. I'm really religious. And it felt like I was wasting the time that God had given me. And at that time, I met a friend, and she was a foster mom. And I fell in love with a couple of her little babies that she had. And I just would go over there, and we were in charge of a young women religious camp, and we would sit together and talk about all of these things, that I would hold her little babies. And one day I was really, really struck by inspiration that we should be foster parents. And I went to my husband, and he was like, yeah, that's not for me. I keep joking with them, this this friend of mine, I keep joking with them that they're almost done, and then now they have all these little kids again. They were in a similar situation with us. Like the kids were in school, and then they ended up adopting two of their foster kids. And so finally he said my husband agreed to do the lessons only, and that we would just do the lessons and it would help us be better parents. And so we started taking the lessons. This is all the beginning of COVID, really. So we started taking lessons, and they were great lessons. And about halfway through, my husband turned to me. I should say that my husband is one of the best men that exists. He's not only the best man, he is the best father I've ever met. And he turned to me and he said, well, we're going to do this, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he said, yeah, we're going to do this. It needs to be done. And we can do this. We have something to offer here. And so we finished taking the lessons, and then something really weird happened. We went camping with the kids, and we couldn't get one of our lessons done. And so it ended up taking us a year to make that lesson up. Like between the time we started and the end, I think it had to have been 10 months, I think, is how long it took us to become foster parents. And it was just kind of a weird thing. And they kept saying, I don't know why, there's nothing anywhere. This is just how long it took. And so we took all the kids to, my husband's from Costa Rica. We took all the kids to Costa Rica for Christmas. And while we were there, our license came through, and I got a phone call the day my license came through, and they said, I have 2 kids. Can you take them? And my heart just broke, because I'd been trying for a year to be helpful. It felt like it was almost a year that I was just trying to be helpful and do this for children. And here I am around Christmas, we're partying, and there's 2 children who are, the day after Christmas needing a home. And really, I just felt like a sinking, but at the same time, I knew it was really right, because the kids, it was such a good, this was right before you left on your mission. So Jackson left for 2 years to serve for our church, and it was right before, and I knew this was a really good family building thing. So I was hard, because I felt like so conflicted about it. So as we came back from Costa Rica, and my heart was kind of feeling heavy about the idea that I hadn't been there for these kids. And as we're walking in the door, literally there are bags everywhere. People are still walking in the door. I get a phone call, and they said, can you take someone today? And I'm like, sure. And they're like, when? I said, when? And I'm like, I got to talk to my kids. And they said, well, you call us back, but we have him, and we need to bring him over. So basically they're saying, like, as soon as you give us the okay to come, we're bringing a kid. And so I sat down with the kids, and I said, we told you guys this was us as a family. We're not just doing this. And they all said yes. So that day we had a 5-year-old. And so his bags were coming in, and so were ours. Maybe it made him feel good too. Everybody was moving back at the same time, right? And so we had our first child, and then so the next day, and this is why I tell this story. The next day they called me to ask how he was doing, and I said, he's good. It's easy start so far, and she said, okay, are you ready for another child? And I actually, this experience that happens within the next 24 hours is one of these monumental experiences in your life. And I'll equate it to when I found out I was pregnant with my other children. And so as she's asking me, my heart is swelling, and say, yes, I want a baby. And so I said, yes, I can take a baby. And she then goes on, this is one of the saddest parts of the story. She then goes on to give me details on 5 babies who need homes, and each more horrific than the last, right? So I take notes, And she said, okay, if you can call me by this afternoon with which baby you'll take, that'd be really great. So I've got all my kids off to school and my new foster son off to school. And I go and meet with my husband at lunch, and we talk over the situations involving each one of these kids. And there is an obvious choice. And it's the very hardest and the very, very most difficult situation. And we both looked at each other, and my husband said, it's this baby. And I said, I know, but it's too hard. We can't do it. And he said, yes, but that's our baby. And I said, I know. And he's like, yeah, but it's going to be really hard. And we kind of both went back and forth telling each other it was too hard and we shouldn't do it. But we already knew, right? We already knew she was our baby. And so I called her, and she said, okay, well, she's in the NICU. It's January. It's the first week of January. She was born in October. She's been there alone. Her birth mother didn't stay after she was born. And so then, and she said, and we need you to go to the NICU and get trained so that she can come home, because she's going to have a lot of situations that she has a lot of things that going on with her that you can't just take her home, right? Basically. And so she said, I'm going to get you hospital access, and you should be able to go tonight. So this is the day after we got home from Costa Rica, and the day after we got our new foster son. And I said, all right, as soon as you give me the word, I'll be over at the NICU. And so we had dinner. I got everybody to bed, got the little guy to bed, and I got the phone call that I was cleared to go to the NICU and meet this baby. And so I don't think anything could really have prepared me for what I was about to have happen to me in two ways. I don't think anything could have prepared me to understand the complete love that is exactly like what I had with my other children. I didn't know that that was possible. And I also didn't know that I don't know if anything could compare me how scary it was. So we're walking down the aisle, and every baby's in a bad way, right? We're in the NICU, it's COVID. So every doctor's in full PPE, they've got face shields and they're covered. And the only thing these babies can see are these eyes of the doctor. And I'm there, and they've got my face mask, and she says, you need to have this covering. And so they put this whole thing on my body, and I'm in some yellow jumpsuit kind of thing, and the babies aren't allowed to be touched anywhere, right? They're just supposed to be. COVID was so wild. Anyway, so we get to Millie's incubator. That wasn't her name at the time, but that was eventually will become her name. We get to Millie's incubator, and she is covered in wires, and she's very, very tiny. Still very, very tiny. So this is almost 3 months into her life, right? And she's just a little peanut. I want to say she was just hit 4 pounds. And so then, I was like, whoa, how are we going to do this? And then my heart just hurt that she hadn't been held. And so I'm like, okay, how do I hold her? Is it possible? And they're like, yes. So they got me in a seat, and they put her in my arms, and I can't express to you the love that I had for this baby that I'd never met before. I am the spirit whispered, this is your daughter. And so I knew. And I felt for her the same as I had just given birth to her. And then the weeks that ensued were just, trying to deal with the new 5-year-old at home and learn what everything Millie needed. And so I spent 2 weeks going to the hospital as soon as the kids were in school. As soon as you guys were in school, I'd go to the hospital and I'd stay for the entire time. I'd hold Millie and learn about her care. At the time, she had just had her G-tube placed, and she was on. I'm pretty sure that within the first couple days that I was there, she went to high flow oxygen, and we were working down to get to regular oxygen that could be taken home. And so, you know, that plus a lot of other meds that we were doing at the time. And so the next 2 weeks were just, and then I would go home, get people in bed, fed and in bed, and then I would be back at the hospital. I stayed the entire night until I had to wake up to go wake kids up to go to school in the next morning. And the nurses were like, well, you can do that, but you can't sleep. And so I told them, I don't care, just wake me up. Like, this baby has to be held. And so she's my baby, and I haven't held her, and she needs to be held. And so I spent every day for 2 weeks doing that. So being there the whole day, and then being there the whole night, not sleeping. And which, you know, we can't come to find out was a really good training for my life since the last 4 years. And so I spent that time with her. And then about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer into it, they said, okay, we're going to do you staying here at night. We have a separate room right next to the NICU where you and Millie will stay together, and we will monitor whether you can take her home, whether you can perform the tasks necessary to take her home. Like if you can keep her oxygen up. So we will keep a monitor on you and her, and then we'll watch how you deal with her nighttime, and then we'll assess whether you're ready medically to take her home. And so we did that. And this is the most joyous moment for me with Millie, is that, like, they said, as soon as you get into that room, you can take your mask off. And so we got into this room, and I took my mask off, and at, 3 months old, Millie saw her first face, and it was mine. And it was, pretty neat experience. And, I made it through. I won. They said I got it. I did all the things right, and we brought her home. And so that's where we are today. We brought Millie home, and eventually, about 2.5 years after bringing her home, or 2 years after bringing her home, we got off oxygen, and she will always be tube fed. We've done some feeding therapy, but swallowing is not really something that she has a reflex for, swallowing and coughing. So we use lots of machines around here. We have a cough assist and a suction machine, and lots of tube supplies. And so that is the story of our family. That is how we came to be. The biggest and most important part is that every single one of my children love Millie, probably the most. The most out of everybody. She is the joy, the delight of our family. She is nonverbal. She doesn't have facial expressions. Oh, it looks like she's going to join us, actually. Gotta go grab her.
Oh, Millie, come to join us. This is Millie, everybody. The girl we were talking about the whole time.
So
okay, so why are you and Millie doing all this?
okay, so there's 2 reasons. If we're talking about the pajama, the reason is because I can't find anything to prevent Millie from.
Okay, so for context, my mom and Millie made a pajama. What does it do?
A lot of things. It does all of the things that I have been hoping a pajama would do, and everything I've bought just doesn't have the options that I needed. So one of the things it does is has an opening in the foot as an option for the oxygen sensor. And that's really, really important. And I wish we would have had it because it was really difficult to keep it on her. Millie doesn't have a lot of gross motor skills, but her fine motor skills are really great. So she is able to unhook and undo a lot of things. So she will take her foot monitor off every night. And I wish we had had that always. So that's one of the first features. One of the biggest features is I have found, and my husband, we've both found Millie wrapped up with cords and tubes around her neck many, 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 many times. In fact, it's been a thing that's happened, and that we've had the alarms go off because of the lack of oxygen, because of the tubes around her neck. So yeah, I know. See, I did that. She's kind of a ferocious sleeper. She rolls a lot, and so she ends up with tubes around her neck all the time. So one of the most important things is the way that we've designed this is that we've got, it's so good, is that we have a panel inside the pajama where it leads the tube. It keeps it away from her skin, but also leads the tube down to come closer to her ankle. And what we found is that every time that she rolls around, the worst tangle that we can get is something just around her ankles. And that's totally not going to hurt her or cause a bigger problem. And we also have designed, even though we're not currently on oxygen, we remember the many years we were. And so we've designed the same design for oxygen. So it comes down through the back, has the panel through the back, so that the tubes will move with the child, but not around the child. All right, what do you want to say? You gotta say something. So it's working. She says it's working. And so we have had the most peaceful and beautiful night's sleep since this. Oh, the biggest and the other biggest feature, I guess I keep saying they're the biggest. All the features are big because these are the ones that I've dreamed about as I've been dressing Millie all these years, is that I have added padding on the interior of the pajamas so that little hands that have really good little grasps cannot pull their button out, because that is one of our Millie's hallmark moves. She is known for button pulling. She really, really likes to see how fast she can get it out and in what circumstances. So in particular at night when she's, yes, you do. She's saying no, she doesn't, but she does. Yeah, you do that. So for the pajama, the design is meant to, and I really, really hope that my biggest goal with this pajama is that mothers don't have to struggle like I have. I spent years just cutting little holes in places for me to get to it. Also, the pajamas does zip. The whole side unzips so that you have access to everything that you need to for the tubes. Yeah. I know.
Perfect. And you have a community that you've built.
So yeah, the community, and this is a story that I in no way want to disparage the person, but this story that I want to tell you about is really the reason that I care about other moms, because I met a mom that had a special needs daughter, and she was older, and I kind of watched her for a long time. And I guess friends isn't the right word. I probably would have, before this conversation, said that we were friends, but I guess acquaintances is, my daughter Emily. All of my kids have spent lots of time working with special needs kids, which has been just really delightful in high school. And so each one of them always volunteer with the special needs groups, and they usually do a TA situation because they're not scared by any of that. So my daughter worked with her daughter, and I about a year ago, I was really struggling. I was struggling with the sleepless nights and being older with sleepless nights. You know, it was one thing when I was 20, it's another thing when I'm 40. And so I was really, really struggling with the sleepless nights. And we had been trying for 3 years to get Millie diagnosed. Lots of doctors think it looks genetic, but because of the circumstances of her birth, we know that there are lots of drugs involved. And so, you know, it's really difficult for, it was really difficult for us. And I had, I know, I think you want to talk. You want to say something. Yeah. All right. My turn? Your turn. No. Okay. We're going to see if we can find her iPad. Oh, it's right there. Do you want your iPad?
That's what she loves, her iPad.
I know. This is the favorite toy. Okay, so we'll let Millie do that so that she can give us a minute. So anyway, I had met this lady, and her daughter was older but special needs, and I had kind of hoped that, you know, well, I kind of thought we were friends, and I was struggling with not having a diagnosis, and we had like one particular diagnosis that looked like it was going to be it. And Millie had shown some hallmark signs of this particular genetic disorder, and I was really disheartened because those kiddos usually, you know, between 5 and 10 have all passed away from leukemia. And so I was just feeling the weight of what that diagnosis looked like. And we had some testing that looked like maybe that was going to be it, and some testing that maybe it wasn't. And so we weren't quite sure at this point. I'll just say so that no one wonders. It's not. She doesn't actually have that genetic disorder, and we're still undiagnosed. And so I had this mom. She had asked me a question, and we were kind of standing there, and I kind of explained to her what was going on, and saying how, you know, I was just feeling like it was so much to handle. And, you know, I imagine all of you right now are thinking what the response might be, right? Like, oh, I'm so sorry, or that's harder when I got my kid's diagnosis. Well, her response was, don't you have any friends you can talk to? And I think my world like came crashing down around me at that moment, because nobody knows what's going on. Like, there's no one around that can feel your pain. And so if a special needs mom can't relate, or not even relate, just not even have compassion, then it felt so alone. Like, I am not only am I alone, I'm alone in the special needs community, I'm alone in everywhere. Like, there's nobody here. My husband can understand in his way, my kids can understand in their way, but nobody does the appointments every day with me. Nobody's on my chart 10 times a day talking to doctors about different formulas or things that might work, or things that might stop her from vomiting, or how we're going to make sure if she does have a seizure, what am I going to do? And so it was that moment where I thought, this isn't right. We need something. You need to be able to go somewhere and have someone who really cares. And so it's really important for me, because I really care. Like, you can't tell me anything that I won't have compassion for. And so I just don't want any mom to ever be in that situation where she's struggling to comprehend the massive struggle that she has, or what she's looking at, or she's, you know, the future is so unsteady or unclear, or maybe her future is becoming clearer, and it's hard to comprehend. And I don't want anybody to be in that situation and not have someone to tell. that can not say, don't you have any friends, right? Not try to pass the buck on to someone else. I don't want to do that. I want to be someone for you. If you have a sad story, or everyone has a sad story, but if you have something that you just need somebody to hear and say, I haven't been exactly there, but I can't imagine that feeling, or that I have been there. I remember what the day was like when when I was doing G-tube care for the first time. I don't want any mom to ever feel like I felt that day. Like, not only do none of my friends understand, but I don't even have anybody that could ever listen to me for 5 minutes without telling me that I should find someone else.
Yeah. Well, I think that is, like that, and that's, a big reason why I want to help with all of this. Like, my mom has been so amazing, just like throughout my whole life, being there for me and stuff, and just to have like, I have no way to comprehend like anything of what all these moms in the community go through, or like things we see all day, like just the things that they go through. And so, like, I just have no way, because I'm like, I'm only 22 and just living life, I'm just a little 22-year-old. I don't know that much. But one of the reasons why I'm helping so much is because I know that, like, that's like what my mom has to go through, and like how many other moms are going through that, or have gone through that, and like just need some support and some love, some help. And like, that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. Like, we are super religious, and one of the key tenets of Christianity is just to love one another the way, God loves us, or at least the example of God in all the scriptures loves us. And so I think this is how we can maybe try to do that, right? So yeah, thank you guys for listening for a little bit. This is, like, I guess, our introduction to the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you have anything else you kind of want to go over before we end here, Mom? We can let them go to their lives.
No, just take heart. You can do a lot more than you think you can, and you are way more capable than you think you are. And you're doing a good job. Whether you missed a feeding or you fed the bed for 3 hours last night, or it doesn't matter. The effort is, one of the best quotes I've ever heard is, the Lord loves effort. And I think that we have a constant companion as far as our Savior. But I also know that there are so many women. What I've been amazed at is about how many women are here already. Like, I just started this thing, and there's so many women who, and my guess is that most of them are looking for some sort of companionship, just somebody to be in it with them. Because, I think somebody asked about a dad's group, and we might be able to talk to my husband into it someday. We'll see what happens. But I'd at least like to get him on a podcast for a minute, because you guys should be able to hear him. He's so cute, and he has the cutest accent, so everyone should be able to hear him. But even your darling husband, who tries really hard, can't understand certain struggles. And so it's important to know that not only do you have the Lord on your side, but also other women. And I think that, I want this to be a place where everyone shares. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not doing it all right. And I think that, that was kind of what made me hesitant. I thought, what do I have to share? And I don't have much other than my desire for no one to feel like they don't have friends in this. And so I think if I would share one thing, is that don't ever feel like you don't have a friend in this. And I would never want you to feel like you were alone, because you're not. And maybe I haven't been in the exact situation. I know there's a lot of people who have trachs, and I haven't been, we did actually, I know a little bit, only because we spent about 2.5 months in the PICU, and I did get trained on. They thought we were going to get a trach for Millie, and so I spent a lot of time with a little girl who had a trach, who was in the room next to Millie. They wanted me to get familiar with it, And so, I don't know everything about everything, but you don't always need someone to know, every little detail, but I want to be there and support you. And I want all of us to be there to support each other. I just really feel like we need a group that is personal, like that's really that we can look at each other and just be so excited for the happiness that comes in the little tiny little minor things, the minor good things, right? That maybe to everyone else, when you say my kid's sitting up for the first time, and they look at you like, well, your kid's 3, you know, and whether they mean to or not, it's not because anybody is willfully malicious. Probably even that woman who said that to me wasn't willfully malicious. I don't think she was trying to hurt my feelings, and she probably doesn't even know the impact those words had on me. Nonetheless, I think that we have a spot where we can be more supported in a different way. So just I'm here, and I want to be your friend if you feel like you don't have a friend.
Amen. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Mom. I think that was good for our first try. Let us know what you guys think. If you have questions or whatever. If you want to join our school, just check out the link. Or if you're already in our school, then just keep like hanging out with us, I guess. Mostly my mom. I kind of just help her with the tech stuff. But yeah, anyways, we will see you in the next one.